Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Edred the Gizzard from King's Wild Project. Now, this is the so-called 13th deck in the 2019 King's Wild Shorts line. King's Wild Shorts, if you'll remember, is the monthly subscription service where you can get a unique and inspired deck from Jackson Robinson every single month. But for subscribers that collected all 12 of the decks, there was a little bit of a special extra where you were given one of the limited edition decks from this 13th design. And that's what we've got here. So this is the limited edition version of the deck, but like all of the other decks in the shorts line, there were actually three different versions created. The limited, of which there were 400 printed, the standard with 500 of them printed. So I've got those two here. And then there's also another gilded one where there's only 100 decks. Now, I don't have that one. I only have these two, but we'll get a chance to see the cards. Like everything else in the shorts line, the cards within the three versions are exactly the same, except of course the gilded version has gilded edges. So that's how the deck came to be, but let's get into the story and the design of Edred the Gizzard. All right, so we're gonna be looking first at the standard version of the Tuck. The deck itself is a tribute deck, and it's a tribute to two people from Jackson Robinson's life, his father, Jerry, and his grandfather, Edred the Gizzard. The Gizzard was, of course, his nickname, and Edred was somebody who Jackson never met in his life, but somebody who his dad would tell a lot of different stories about, and so somebody that he had heard about a lot growing up. So that's the very touching and very cool inspiration behind the deck, but you'll see he takes that to a whole other level of tribute when we get to the cards themselves. But let's jump in and take a look at the Tuck case. It's done on this white matte cardstock with black kind of sketched drawings on it, but then makes really heavy use of copper foil, which gives it a very kind of bright, shiny, vibrant coloring throughout. The front here is designed to kind of look like the label of a bottle of rye whiskey. So you've got Edred the Gizzard in this sort of vaudeville style up across the top, and then rye whiskey over here on the side. The large emblem here is of a rooster. This rooster makes a frequent appearance on a lot of different King's Wild decks, as does the Bible verse that's quoted around the edge. It says, "Lead a quiet life, work with your hands, mind your own business." That's a snippet from 1 Thessalonians and a verse that you'll see referenced on virtually every one of the King's Wild decks. And then the background is just sort of these sketches of ears of corn with the leaves kind of popping out and growing almost out of the name of the deck there. Very cool kind of vintage inspired feel to it overall. And then on the bottom, there's this almost like a chalkboard kind of material, this slate gray. And then Jackson's actually signed and hand numbered the deck in copper ink at the bottom. So you can see it's handcrafted by Jackson and a limited edition. I've got number 241 out of 500. Very cool. On the sides, you've got Edred the Gizzard blazoned in metallic foiling there. And same thing on the other side. There's a sticker at the bottom giving some ad copy, including the dedication to his father, Jerry, and his grandfather, Edred. And there's that Bible verse mentioned, as it usually is on his decks. And at the top, American Rye Whiskey, kind of a callback to the whiskey that sort of inspired a lot of the design. And on the back here, you've got a foiled and very, very slightly embossed version of the back of the cards. We'll look at those details in a second. Inner flap has number 13, another commonly recurring element on Jackson Robinson decks. And you get a little silhouette of a rooster on the inside. Number 13, once again, on the flaps here, and nothing printed on the interior. So that is the look at the Tuck case. Really beautifully done. The only thing that really swaps out on the limited is just the background color. So it's done in this sort of brown cardboard, but otherwise the design elements are pretty much the same as you go through. Obviously it's numbered out of just 400 instead of 500, but very similar design. You get a completely different feel though as you change out that background color. So that's all I'm going to say about the Tuck case. Let's get into the cards, and we'll start with the back design. Here it is. It's a very just bold and yet kind of vintage design. You've got the rooster once again on each side, forming that main focal element. The rooster is an interesting tie to his grandfather. His grandfather actually had a rooster, and there's a great audio story. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested in hearing it, where Jackson's father, Jerry, is telling stories about this rooster. This rooster was apparently just vicious and would, incredibly territorial, so would attack every time anybody came nearby. And so just a great story that his dad tells. I won't spoil too much of the story. I think it's definitely worth a listen. Jackson's dad is a great storyteller, and it's really cool to kind of hear the story of the rooster. But there's the rooster, again, that Bible verse kind of forming that circle around. And then you have ears of corn and then these stalks of rye sticking out and forming a very kind of organic feeling border around. Finishes out with this orange and black bordering, and then a thin poker border on the outside. And you can see that kind of weathered card looking almost like it's aged a little bit on the card. So very nice, vintage, simple back design. Now getting into the cards themselves, and the first two Jokers are nearly identical. Obviously you have the black and red, and you'll see here this mentions Hank Smith, 1890. This is actually an image of Hank Smith, who was Jackson's great-great-grandfather, so several generations back. He's actually known for being the first person to settle in Crosby County, just outside of Lubbock, Texas. So he was one of the first settlers and also the first in Jackson's family to come to the U.S. He was actually an immigrant from Germany who traveled to the U.S. before settling in Texas. And so another very cool tribute going further back in the family, and this nice sketched image of him holding his rifle there. So first of, like I said, a lot of tributes we're going to see in this deck. So there's your two Jokers, and those are the only extra cards you get. Now, going to the Ace of Spades, this is obviously the power ace of the entire deck, has the name of the deck blazoned across again in that vaudeville style with Edred the Gizzard, and you've got a sketch of a young Edred himself there in the center. Very nice vintage feel, almost like a black and white photograph style that you're looking at, and you can see it's made of those sort of hatched lines going all the way down, forming the design. Very cool, very vintage, and I love the kind of look and smirk on his face there in the front. Very fun. The bottom, by Jackson Robinson of King's Wild Project on the banners, and then you get a custom pip and index in the corner. Just a little bit of almost shadowing in there to give it a 3D depth to the index, and then a pretty classic pip in the corner. As you go to the number cards, this is really interesting. You're going to see just kind of black and white photographs forming the background on all of these. What's very cool about these is these are actually pictures of some of the family members that subscribers to King's Wild Project shorts wanted to remember. So Jackson asked them to submit photos, and he actually incorporated those photos onto the cards of the deck. And so you get to see all of these different people forming the background image. Now, obviously you've got the pips in the back, kind of keeping it a functional card, but it's really just fascinating to go through and see all of the different pictures and images and just imagine the stories. I don't know, nor would I even really go into the individual stories of these, just because I think they're really personal stories all around, and I don't think I could do them justice, but it's just amazing to kind of go through and see all of the images. Now, stylistically, obviously, it doesn't make for the most functional deck in the world. I especially, kind of bothered by the ones that go sideways like this. I think that kind of detracts stylistically from the deck. But as a tribute deck, I think it's just a really amazing thing to do. Now, the quartz amp it up even a little bit more, adding not just the background image with the photograph, but then also adding in a sketch of each of the characters kind of reimagined. Sometimes it's a very close image like you'll see here, and sometimes it's a completely reimagined one like here on the King of Spades, where you've got him kind of in a pith helmet in the back and then sketched with no helmet in the front. Now, the King of Spades is actually the one I do know. This is another shot of Edred himself making his appearance on the King of Spades. Nicely done in a two-way court card design. So I love the addition on the quartz. More of the same as you go through the rest of the deck, just with more interesting characters. Like there's one, a bride and a groom, guys standing in front of an airplane there. Just beautiful, and you know there's just depth and stories behind every single one of these pictures. I think make this a really special deck. More in the court cards. I think this guy looks a lot like Harry Truman. It's an interesting look there. And then here's the club courts real quick. Love that one too. And the black jacket, almost with the color popped up a little bit. And then just thumb through real quick so you guys can see some of the images on these. Just love just imagining what stories go with all these. And then there are your heart courts. And then going through the rest of the deck and finishing with the Ace of Hearts. So that is the deck. Beautiful tribute. Now the cards are printed, I believe, from Expert. So they're gonna handle pretty well. These certainly, I think, handle even a little bit better than a lot of Expert cards that I've had. They are really smooth handling. Fans, all that, just beautifully done. That said, I'm not going to go too much into the handling or anything like that. And that gets me to my last point. What's the deck for? To me, it is an art and tribute deck, and that really is it. I think it's really distracting if you want to use this for cardistry or gameplay or magic. And honestly, I don't think it's a deck that really is served well for that. It really just is meant to be an art deck to appreciate and just imagine the stories they go through. I think it'd be just incredibly cool if you had, one of your family members commemorating the deck. This would obviously be just a must-have deck in the collection. So definitely a different deck from Jackson. One that's not going to be for everybody for sure, but as a collector and somebody who really likes stories in decks, there is no deck that contains more individualized and personal stories in this deck. So I think it's a really cool addition. Really glad that Jackson found this really touching way, not just to give tribute to his family, but to also allow some of his subscribers to give tribute to theirs. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed this look at Edred the Gizzard from King's Wild Project. Let me know what other decks you want to see, and make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings. And I'll see you for the next one.